We are going to continue with the NFC West today in our NFL refresher, so let's get right down into it. We are going to start with the Arizona Cardinals. What did they do last year? 5-10-1. That may look bad, but it's actually not. Cliff Kingsbury, his first year as a head coach. Kyle Murray, rookie year at quarterback, and they put up 5 wins. That's really very good. Cliff Kingsbury, college head coach for Texas Tech for the last, I think about 6 seasons. And then he gets his first NFL job, and here he is in Arizona doing very well his first year. And then what did Kyler Murray do last year? 64% completion. Fantastic. 3,200 yards. Fantastic. 20 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Kind of right about that 2-1, which you want to see, a little less, but still very good. He rushed for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. He only fumbled it 5 times, which is pretty good from a dual threat quarterback that we've been seeing. So 3,700 yards. I think I said 32. So it is 3,700 yards. So when you add the rushing and the passing yards, that's over 4,000 yards combined. That's truly fantastic. 24 touchdowns in total. 12 interceptions, so kind of that 2-1 if you add in those rushing numbers. And this man had a very, very great season, especially for a rookie, especially with a first-time head coach, especially with a first-time professional head coach when he's coming from the college system. So overall, 5-10-1 is truly, truly fantastic for this Arizona team. They lose David Johnson as the running back. They lose Pharaoh Cooper. They lose Charles Clay. Not huge weapons, but decent performances by them. But what do they add? They get DeAndre Hopkins, maybe the number 1 receiver in the league. You can definitely make the argument. They get Jordan Phillips on the defensive tackle. He had 9.5 sacks last year as a defensive tackle. Absolutely magnificent. And then they pick up Dre Kirkpatrick, once again shoring up that defense. Fantastic. They still have Kenyon Drake. He came in mid-season, 8 games for the Cardinals, and he put up 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. Fantastic. This defense is still pretty good as well. You got Jordan Phillips, you got Chandler Jones, Jordan Hicks, and Patrick Peterson. So this defense is still very good. They went heavy on defense in the draft. They get Isaiah Simmons as their first-round pick, linebacker from Clemson. We know how good that Clemson's team was. So they've got the pieces on offense. Their defense is still good. Second year for Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. This is a tough division, though, but I expect them to kind of compete for it. Watch out for the Arizona Cardinals. They got the pieces. They've had the talent. They have the quarterback. They have that number 1 receiver. And then they have old, reliable Larry Fitzgerald, baby. He's back. I think he signed a 1-year contract. He wants a ring. I want him to get a ring. Is this the year they get a ring? Most likely not, but they do maybe make the playoffs. I don't think they win the division because they are in the same division as the Seahawks, and that Seahawks team is very good. Russell Westbrook is the best quarterback in this division. But Kyler Murray can definitely make a little bit of waves here in the NFC West for the Cardinals. So let's see how favorable their schedule is. It's all going to depend on the schedule because this team does have some talent. So let's see. Oh boy, right off the rip, they have to open up in Santa Clara, I apologize, against the 49ers. I can't give them a win there. Defending Super Bowl participant and still pretty good overall. The 49ers, they face them twice because they are in the same division. We will talk about the 49ers. Are they next? No, they're not next, but they are third. So we will talk about them, but I do like the 49ers coming off of that Super Bowl loss and, looking for revenge. So it may be just not all those pieces quite fitting in together heading into week 1, especially with no preseason games. So we can't give them a win against the 49ers, but we can give them a win against the Redskins. We can give them a win against the Lions. This Panthers team, Matt Rule came out and said that they did not have a good dress rehearsal couple days ago, so that is kind of giving me a little weary vibes. I do like Teddy Bridgewater. Matt Rule is all right. He hasn't won any bowl games. That tells me that he can't really coach in big time games. When you have a month to prepare in bowl games, you really should win, especially if you're taking a head coaching job in the NFL. So I don't know how we're going to do the Panthers yet, but their roster is, I don't think, is as good as the Cardinals. So we'll give them a win against the Panthers. We'll give them a win against the Jets. This Cowboys team is going to be a little difficult. I don't think they win it. I don't think they beat the Seahawks, and I don't even think they split against them, which is unfortunate. But coming off the bye, they beat the Dolphins. That Buffalo team, that's going to be a real good game. They're at home, so I think we'll give the Cardinals the win there. As I said, they don't beat the Seahawks. They don't even split. That Patriots team, this is going to be real tough in New England. Ooh, this is real tough. I don't want to call it a win. I don't think they beat the Patriots. It's still Bill Belichick, y'all, and they have Cam Newton now. I think they split against the Rams, so we'll give them their home win against the Rams. They beat the Giants. I think they beat the Eagles. I don't think they split against the 49ers, and I think they split against the Rams. So really, I think they go 9-7, which is a fantastic upgrade, and you could really find some 10th win here. You can find a 10th win. Maybe if they split against the Seahawks, you can get that 10th win. You can get the 10th win against the Patriots. And, you face the 49ers twice. So maybe, later in the season when you're at home, when the division is on the line, you can maybe even find a 10th game there. So not bad overall. Upgrading from 5 wins to 9 is fantastic in your second year. They have the talent. This team should be good. 9-7. I don't think it will win the division, and it usually doesn't win a wild card in the NFC. You really need to be at 11 wins, but they could definitely get 10, and they could even get 11. I mean, there is room for 11 wins. If they split against the 49ers and they split against the Seahawks, then they're right up there with 11 wins, possibly a wild card spot, possibly fighting for that division as well. So I don't want to disrespect the Cardinals too much by putting them at 9-7, but you can definitely make an argument that they do make the playoffs. This is a good Cardinals team, and I expect Kyler Murray to step it up a little bit. I expect Cliff Kingsbury to kind of get it all together now. His second year as the head coach. They have the offensive pieces. Their defense is still good. So, hey, watch out for the Cardinals. 9-7 is definitely respectable here, no doubt. All right, so let's move on to the next team in the NFC West. We've got the Rams, maybe the worst team in the NFC West, yeah? That tells you how deep this division is. Seahawks, Cardinals, 49ers, Rams, all pretty decent teams. We saw, Sean McVay's, breakout year, but then he's kind of fallen off since then, since that Super Bowl appearance, that Super Bowl loss. So what did they do last year? 9-7 last year. They finished third. Jared Goff, 63% completion, 4,600 yards. Fantastic. And then 22 touchdowns, but 16 interceptions. It's a ton of turnovers. You cannot have that. So that is the big knock on Jared Goff, but the 4,600 yards is absolutely fantastic, and the 63% completion percentage is also very, very good. They do lose a lot of players. They lose Brandon Cooks. That is a weapon for Jared Goff. They lose Dante Fowler on the line. Not great. That's your edge rusher. You want them. Now they lose Clay Matthews and Nickel Roby Coleman, both in that linebacking core. Clay Matthews hasn't been the same since, that discount double check in Green Bay. He hasn't really been the same, but still a solid veteran. They lose Eric Weddle in the safety position. We saw that they lose Todd Gurley. Is that really a loss? You can make the case either way. Who do they add? No real big names. I mean, they added Jalen Ramsey in the middle of the season last year, so he's still good piece on that defense. They had no first-round picks, so they had some second-round picks. They get a wide receiver, Cam Akers, who had 1,100 yards for Florida State and 14 touchdowns last year, so that's a decent addition to this kind of not so great wide receiver core. And then they added a running back because they do lose Todd Gurley. Still really don't have anybody to kind of fill that running back position. and Von Jefferson, who only rushed for 600 yards and 6 touchdowns for Florida last season. So we'll see how these second-round picks play out for the Rams. They still have Cooper Kupp, good receiver there. Robert Woods, I guess, would be a decent number 2. And they still have Aaron Darnold and Jalen Ramsey for the defense. So overall, maybe they are the worst team in the NFC West. Not a ton of great pieces, some good pieces, some solid pieces. They do have, a good head coach here in Sean McVay. Maybe not as good as everybody initially thought, but we'll see how they're able to work this team. Just overall, just the talent is not great for this team. We see some great defenses around the NFC West with the 49ers and the Seahawks and the Cardinals, and the Rams just don't really kind of match it. So let's see how good their schedule is and count their wins. All right, they have to open up on the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Luckily, they're at home. This is going to be tough for me to call. I think the Cowboys are overall better. I really do. Their defense is a little bit better. Jared Goff having to go to he's at home, so he's going to be a little bit more comfortable. Dallas traveling. Dallas has a lot to prove this season with their new head coach, Mike McCarthy, and Dak Prescott wanting to get paid. Sunday Night Football, I expect the Cowboys to kind of show up. I think they lose it. I think the Rams lose this game, so I won't count that as a win. Then they have to go to Philly, and Philly's talent is really also not there. Going into Philly is making me hesitant on picking the Rams to win the game, but I will give them a win here. I don't think they beat the Bills. They beat the Giants. They beat the Redskins. I don't think they split against the 49ers, so that's a loss there. They beat the Bears. They beat the Dolphins. I don't think they split against the Seahawks. I don't think they beat the Bucs. They lose again against the 49ers. They probably split against the Cardinals, so we'll give them a loss when they have to go to Arizona. The Patriots are at home. This is Thursday Night Football. They might be able to steal that game just because it's Thursday Night Football, and usually Thursday Night Football games aren't that great. So I will give them a win against the Patriots there. I'll give them a win against the Jets. They don't split against the Seahawks, and then they beat the Cardinals. So that's 8-8 for this Rams team, taking a one-game step back from 9-7 last season. This Rams team isn't that good, They really don't have a good running back. Jared Goff is good. He has some decent weapons. Cooper Kupp is an emerging star. Robert Woods is kind of a good veteran. And they drafted that wide receiver from Florida State, but second-round pick, not great. Aaron Darnold is really going to be that main force on that defense. Yes, Jalen Ramsey is still good at cornerback, but cornerback and defensive end could really kind of only get you so far on the defensive end. So I'm not too big on this Rams team, kind of 8-8, mediocre, not great overall. Don't win the division, don't make the playoffs, obviously, with an 8-8 record. All right, let's continue on with the 49ers. All righty, Super Bowl participants last year. They had that lead going into the fourth quarter, and they lose it. Kyle Shanahan blowing a Super Bowl lead. When have we heard that before? But he's ready to rock and try to get right back there. Went 13-3 last season. Fantastic. Jimmy Garoppolo, decent year. 69 completion percentage. 69. Fantastic. Absolutely magnificent. I'll use the M word. Don't tempt me. 69% completion percentage is truly magnificent. 3,900 yards, a little low, just a little bit. I want to see him go over that 4,000 yard mark, especially when you're not a dual threat. You got to be putting up 4,000 yards. 27 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. So once again, right around that 2-1 where you want to be. So good there. They do lose Emmanuel Sanders. That's a huge weapon for Garoppolo. And they do lose DeForest Buckner on the defensive line. They lose a good offensive line piece in Joe Stanley, who retired. And then they do lose a good running back in Matt Breida. So they lose Emmanuel Sanders at wide receiver, but they get Tavon Austin and Travis Benjamin. Well, they get them, but they won't be playing because Travis Benjamin opts out for the season because of COVID, and Tavon Austin just got on the IR with the knee injury about a couple days ago. So not great there. No real weapons for Jimmy Garoppolo now. They get Jordan Reed, good tight end that can kind of complement George Kittle a little bit. Their offense is still decent. Deebo Samuel is going to be the number one receiver for them. George Kittle, as I said, maybe one of the best tight ends in the league. And then you still have Raheem Mostert, who is probably going to be the starting running back. 700 yards and 8 touchdowns for him. And then their defense, you got Nick Bosa up front. You got Richard Sherman as the cornerback. And then you got Jimmy Ward at the safety position. So overall, still a decent defense. Not so many great weapons on offense. Jimmy Garoppolo is really going to have his work cut out for him in this season. But overall, they got to the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan's a good offensive coach. Just kind of blows leads a lot, which sucks. But that's kind of his MO, and we have to kind of judge him for it. But overall, not a bad roster. Can maybe compete in this division if they're playing at how they played last year, which I think they will be. All right. I think they split against the Cardinals, and they win that opening game because it is at home. So we'll give them the win against the Cardinals. Then they go, have to face the Jets and the Giants. 2 easy wins for them. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Dolphins. I think they beat the Rams twice. I think they can compete against the Patriots in New England. That's going to be a tough game. How well is Cam Newton going to play? That's really how this New England team is going to perform, as well as Cam Newton does. I think he does play well. So we will give them a loss because it is in New England. I think they split against the Seahawks, so we give them a loss when they have to go to Seattle. The Packers, they probably lose that game. It's Thursday night football. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tough. Really tough 4-game stretch here for them. New England, Seattle, Green Bay, and the Saints. We'll say they beat the Packers because I think they lose against the Saints. So they win one of these games. Pick whichever one you want, but I'll go with the game against the Packers on Thursday Night Football at home. But they lose against the Saints coming off the bye. I think they do beat the Rams twice, so we'll give them a win there. They have to face the Bills, and this is a good Bills team, but they are at home for it. Monday Night Football. So we will give the 49ers the win there. They beat the Redskins. They have to go into Dallas. That's going to be a tight game. Sunday Night Football. A lot of primetime games for this team. We'll give them a loss. They split against the Cardinals, so they lose the game in Arizona, but then they win the Seattle game because it is at home. They split against Seattle. So taking a little step back from 13-3, which is kind of expected, and they go 11-5. So far, they do have the command of the NFC West so far, heading in. And our next team, we'll talk about Seahawks. But 11-5 is definitely respectable. You can make the playoffs with it. You might be able to win the division with it, but we do have to talk about the Seahawks, and I am big on the Seahawks, so we'll talk about them in just a second. But overall, this 49ers team is still good. Garoppolo is a good quarterback. One of the, you can make an argument for top 10 in the league. Cliff Kingsbury knows how to coach. He just doesn't know how to coach in the Super Bowl. Their defense is still pretty good. I mean, Nick Bosa, huge game wrecker up front on the defensive end position. Richard Sherman, still one of the best corners in the league, probably top 3. I'll stick by that. And Jimmy Ward's a good safety. It's just they don't have a lot of weapons on offense, so the players are going to need to step up. When you think you're getting Tavon Austin and Travis Benjamin, but then, injury and COVID happened, so they both opt out. Not great, but Jimmy Garoppolo could kind of work with some not so great pieces. So we give them, because they still have their safety net in George Kittle, possibly the best tight end in the league. You can make the case, him or Travis Kelce. But 11-5, definitely respectable. Definitely some room for 12 wins. I mean, if you beat the Patriots or if you can beat the Saints, that's going to be your 12th win there. Or if you could beat the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys, they can definitely win that game, no doubt, and they can definitely sweep against the Cardinals. So some room for that 12th win that would definitely kind of wrap up at least a playoff spot there. So not bad overall. Kind of a favorable schedule. I mean, you face the Jets, the Giants, the Dolphins, and the Redskins. So 4 really easy opponents there, 4 good wins, and then you have to face the Rams twice because I'm not so big on the Rams. But so far, good schedule, not too hard, not too soft, really kind of right in the middle because this 4-week stretch is going to be pretty tough. Patriots, Seahawks, Packers, Saints. All right, let's finish it up with the Seahawks, baby. All righty, what did they do last year? They went 11-5. They make the playoffs as a wild card. They beat the Eagles, but then they just couldn't beat the Packers, which is unfortunate. They have a lot of losses, some good losses. They lose Marshawn Lynch officially. His time coming back in Seattle is officially over. They lose C.J. Prosise, who is a good running back for them. They lose Jadeveon Clowney because we just talked about it at the top. He's in Tennessee now. They lose Ezekiel Ansah, who's a good defensive end, and they lose Michael Kendricks, a good linebacker there. But they add some good talent, y'all. They get Jamal Adams, maybe one of the best safeties in the league. They get Philip Dorsett, a good receiver, good weapon for Russell Wilson. They get Quentin Dunbar, a good cornerback, shoring up already that good Seattle defense. They get Carlos Hyde, good running back, good weapon there. They get Greg Olsen, maybe in his last leg of his career, maybe his last his last year in the league. He signs a 1-year deal, I'm pretty sure. So good there. Good safety blanket for Russell Wilson in the tight end position. They get B.J. Finney and Mike Iupata up front in the line because they did lose 3 offensive linemen. So they beef up their offensive linemen back up a little bit with those 2. And then they drafted, they went heavy on the defense, I believe. In their first round, they get a cornerback. In the second round, they get a run or an edge rusher, try to make up for Jadeveon Clowney a little bit more. So this team is still solid on defense. They're still pretty solid on offense because when you look at what Russell Wilson did last season, 66% completion percentage, 4,000 yards passing, fantastic. 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I can't tell you how great that is. A 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. It's kind of wild to hear about. That's an elite passer, baby. That's going to be a potential GOAT passer right there, no doubt. So Russell Wilson, nobody ever doubts him because he's so great all the time. He wins games. He knows what it takes to get to the playoffs. Pete Carroll's a good coach for Russell Wilson. Pete Carroll has really found how to coach in the Seattle team. Their defense is still pretty good. You got KJ Wright, you got Bobby Wagner, Bruce Irving. They added Jamal Adams, Quentin Dunbar. I mean, this defense is still going to be really, really good, y'all. And they still have Russell Wilson up front. They have Chris Carson, their running back. He rushed for 1,200 yards, so he's still there. And they get Tyler Lockett and DJ Metcalf, some good weapons. DJ Metcalf has really been emerging last season. So they're good on offense. They're good on defense. Their offensive line is good. Their quarterback's exceptional. Their linebacker core is still very good. They've got some power up front on the defensive end position. And then they have Jamal Adams in the backfield just waiting to pick it. And that man could really play all over the field. So the Seahawks team, they are the best team in the NFC West. I will put a stamp on it. I will put my reputation on it. So let's see how easy or favorable their schedule is to see if they can get back to the playoffs. Alrighty, they have to open up in Atlanta. That's a winnable game. I'll give them a win there. Not really sure how Matt Ryan is going to do. I'm forgetting the head coach's name. Dan Quinn for the Falcons. This is, do or die year for him. If he doesn't make the playoffs, I'm pretty sure he's out in Atlanta. But the Seahawks are just a better team overall. So we'll give them one against the Falcons. They're at home for the Patriots. Second week with Cam Newton. This is Sunday Night Football. I expect the Seahawks to really show out here. I give them a win against the Patriots. I'll give them a win against the Cowboys because they are at home still. They beat the Dolphins. They're at home for Minnesota. They are at home for these good teams, and that is a good sign. Sunday Night Football against the Vikings. I'll count it as a win. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so five wins going into the bye. I think they split against the Cardinals or they beat them twice. It's going to be tough. This is going to be tough. Sunday, 4 o'clock kickoff time in Arizona. Coming off a bye, though, so we have to give them a win, even though they are traveling. So 6 wins so far. They are going to split against the 49ers, so we give them their home game against the 49ers, so that's a win. Then they have to go to Buffalo. This is going to be a tough game. I think they we have to give them some losses here, right? We can't have them going 16-0. I mean, we could, but I'll say they lose against the Bills. They beat the Rams twice. I don't think they split against them, so win there. Beat the Cardinals again at home. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Giants. They beat the Jets. They beat the Redskins. Look how easy this 3-game stretch is. They beat the Rams twice, but then they lose against the 49ers because they split against them. So I'm looking at 14-2, man. This is a really favorable schedule for them. Easy wins against the Giants, Jets, and Washington. Easy win against the Dolphins. I mean, Patriots, Cowboys, and Minnesota, I mean, they're kind of just slightly into that tier 2 category. Tier 1 would be 49ers, Chiefs, Seahawks. Who else am I missing? You may be able to make the argument for Minnesota, maybe, but not a lot of teams in that tier 1 category competing for a championship. Baltimore's also in that category of tier 1 teams. Just in that tier 2, you have Minnesota up there real close. You can make the argument of putting them in tier 1, but losing Stephon Diggs is going to knock them a little bit. This is a favorable schedule. If they can win these games against Patriots, Cowboys, and Vikings, they're really kind of smooth sailing. If they can go 5-0 into the bye, and then you go to the Cardinals, win that game 6-0. Then you add 3 more wins here. You add 2 wins against the Rams. You're really looking good here. So 14-2, I think I wouldn't put it past them. The Seahawks team is very good. This is going to be a great season for Russell Wilson. He's all business. He's a true leader. So this whole COVID situation thing going on with no fans, he's really going to be that leader. He's going to shine very bright here. And I think Pete Carroll, he's a player's coach. He knows what it takes, to have the players' respect. And that's going to count huge in this COVID season. So this is, I don't really like the Rams too much in their division. Well, I do like, maybe they do split against Arizona, so maybe you knock them down to 13-3. But either way, they're going to win this division. Let's knock it down to 13-3. We'll knock it down to 13-3. Their losses coming from the 49ers, the Cardinals. Who was their third loss? And then maybe they lose against the Cowboys or the Vikings. One of those 2 games they'll lose. But they could still win. I mean, 14-2 is looking real good to me, but 13-3 is a little bit more realistic. Just decent schedule overall. I mean, the Bills. I think the Bills game was that third loss. So Cardinals, Bills, and the 49ers. They'll split against the 49ers, split against the Cardinals, and I think they lose that Buffalo game. So 13-3. That's going to be the official prediction here. Great overall for them. They win the division. 49ers claim a wild card spot. So kind of flip-flop of what happened actually last year, where 49ers win the division and the Seahawks get the playoff spot. But that's going to wrap up our NFL refresher for today for the NFC West. So we have to do one more thing, and that's going to be our moneymaker. We'll show you what we did yesterday. Celtics -1.5. Didn't hit. They lose outright. And the Clippers -0.5. Once again, they lose outright. So we took a little bit of a hit there, a little humbled from that. But, hey, we're ready to get right back into the driver's seat in today's games. We have the Bucks and Heat. I accidentally saw that line last night, or where we were going over the lines yesterday. The Heat were +5 the entire series, and now they're -1. I think we still rock with them. Bucks are going to be very desperate, but the Heat team, I mean, they don't care. They'll still hit their threes. Giannis is going to have a huge game. I'm talking 35-plus points. I'm talking triple-double with 15-plus rebounds and 12-plus assists if they even want to have a chance. So Giannis needs to step up, and then Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez both need to continue what they're doing here. So we'll see. I just like the Heat. I mean, we called this official prediction 4-1 Heat at the beginning here. Now it's 3-0, 3:30 tip. We'll see if the Heat can close out. I think they can. So we will take the Heat -1. I know what that line is. And then that brings us to Rockets-Lakers. All right, opened up at Lakers -6, and then the Rockets win. They kind of won big. I like the Lakers here. I think they bounce back and win. if it's 5. If the spread is 5, I think it will come down just a little bit. If it's +5, I think we take the Rockets +5 still. I think the Lakers win it. I think they readjust from game 1, kind of like what they did in that Portland series. They lose game 1, but then they win off 4 straight. I think the Rockets are really fast, they're really quick. Even though they don't have any real height on their team, the small ball Rockets, they're able to be, really quick. They hit the 3 ball very well. They all shot pretty well in game number 1. As we saw in Houston's first series against the Thunder, they all don't really hit too often. That's why the series went 7. So the Lakers, they may get the win here. I do think they get the win here. I think LeBron turns it up a little bit. I think Anthony Davis turns it up a little bit. They see how they can score watching the film. Frank Vogel is going to get this team right. But I think 5 is a little high for this team. So if it is 5, we will take the Rockets -5. If it's like -3, I think that's maybe when we take the Lakers. So without further ado, let's just jump right into these lines now, refresh it, and see what we've got to work with. We got to go to NBA. All right. Oh, my God. The Heat went up to -2. Oof. But we are still comfortable taking it. Overall, the Heat's team's better. They're deeper. They hit the 3 ball well, which is hard for the Bucks to do and kind of keep up with. All right. Rockets -5.5. So kind of what I was saying, went down half a point from the first game to the second game. And I think we take the Rockets -5.5. I think it's a safer bet. Rockets, getting 5 points in a playoff game is great. I mean, we saw what happened with the Nuggets in game number 2. They were -9. They were underdogs by 9 points, so they were getting 9, and then they went outright by 9. So Rockets, I think they lose the game, but +5 is a good number that we can kind of root for. Lakers, they just can't keep up with the 3-point firepower of the Rockets. Who's going to hit 3 points on this team? Danny Green, you're not relying on him. You're not relying on Kyle Kuzma. LeBron, maybe the best 3-point shooter on this team, and he's going to be kind of driving to the bucket a little bit more, I think, in this game. Anthony Davis is going to eat down low. I hope that's their only chance of winning this game, if Anthony Davis and LeBron James can just consistently go to the rim and get buckets when they need to try and overcompensate for that 3-point barrage that is inevitably going to come from the Rockets. So the official Takes by Fans moneymaker today will be the Heat -2 and the Rockets +5.5. Alrighty, that is going to do it for today's show. We are going to continue our NFL refresher. We got 2 more divisions to talk about, and then to get us ready for Thursday night, baby. Thursday night football to kick off the season. Texans, Chiefs, I cannot wait for it. It's going to be so much fun to watch. Back into football rhythm now. No preseason games, so we're just gonna dive right in head first into the shallow end of a pool of this football season. So follow me on Twitter. Be a part of the conversation at Takes by Fans, and come watch live Monday through Friday, noon Eastern, twitch.tv/takesbyfans.